Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz episode 223, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Jordan.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And boy, oh boy, do we have a special guest, the Dan Dory daddy himself, Cina Saffary. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So we're going to be talking all about Pikmin 4 today. Spoilers all day. So if you have not finished, listen through the news, mute the main topic, and then turn it back on, and then keep playing. Just, play the whole file. But start off, we're going to be talking about some news and rumors. We got ExciteBike coming. Sea of Stars is coming out soon. New Splatoon song. Much more. But first off, how's everyone doing today?
I'm doing all right. This is like a big week for me. I'm going to San Antonio to show off my game at this convention. And then I am returning after 2 years and some change of freelancing and not working full time. I'm returning to my old job next week, and I am terrified that I will not be able to do it or something. I don't know. I'm just really a little bit panicky about it, but I'm trying to compartmentalize and not let that take over until next week.
Yeah, you got this, Patrick.
Yeah, you got it, man. You'll be fine.
Thanks,
you did it for a long time, so you should be fine.
Right. Well, that's where I'm afraid of, is because they're I really want you back. It's going to be great. And I'm just I don't, 2.5 years. I don't know if I'll remember I hope I do.
Yeah, you will. Cina, how about you? How you doing?
I'm all right. I just went home to Houston for the weekend to visit my parents for my mom's birthday. And on the way back yesterday, 5 minutes after pulling out of their driveway, my car apparently had a coolant leak. All the coolant spilled out of the car, and I had to get it towed back to their house. And I drove one of their cars back to Austin. I gotta deal with that, so that sucks. But
that does.
Other than that, I'm doing great.
Car troubles suck, period. But when you're traveling and car troubles happen, that's that's the worst, because then what do you do?
It's just logistical.
Yes.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
I guess that's me. I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting to this phase of not working where I just don't know what to do with myself some days, where I'm just what day is it? Fucking what am I doing? What day is it? I don't know. But getting some projects done. This weekend I got to go to a concert and see one of my college friends perform on a big stage. So that was cool, because she was always really talented. She has a beautiful voice. She plays in a band called Temple of Angels and another band called Crush. So I got to see them both this year, and that was really cool. She lives out in LA for now. And then yesterday I went to a 2-year-old's birthday party. That was pretty cool. It was Renaissance themed. So people were dressed up and everything.
A 2-year-old's birthday that's themed, man.
Yeah. I don't have any children. Patrick, maybe you can speak on this. When it's they're so young, is the party really for them, or is it for the adults? Yeah. Right? Okay.
I think somewhere around 5 or something. Maybe that's flips 4 or 5,
Yeah. So they was pretty cool. They had a castle built out of cardboard, boxes that was painted all cool, and a cake made a bundt cake, but it was in the shape of a castle, and they had all these figures. It was really well themed. It was pretty sick.
Humans don't form long-term memories until the age of about 5. So no child will remember their second birthday for it.
But when he looks back on it, he'll be like, I fucking hate Renaissance fairs. Why did you do this to me? Anyway, but well, I'm going to pass it over to you, Patrick, for the news.
Yeah, well, first up, before we get into that, we're going to do a couple shout outs, because last week we did an episode on box art, and we got a lot of great comments on the Discord. AV gave some examples of games he bought as a kid, but just based on box art, including Cyborg Justice, Gunstar Heroes. Cool Uncle Vince gave a lot of examples of a lot of different kinds of box art, but one thing I thought was interesting was he kind of explained the black box NES games, the art on those was the pixel art most or exclusively really. And that was, which makes sense, right? Kind of a response to the video game crash and a response to the Atari and that era of games not having representative box art. So that people would, what you see is what you get kind of a thing. I had not really ever put that together, but that was really great. Segovia mentioned Brave Fencer Musashi is a game he, I think, rented many times based on box art, which became a theme of discussion. New Metal Zaddy mentioned Hotline Miami box art, and Emma mentioned the Xenoblade games box art. Over on the YouTube, we got some great comments. Karuseta and Steve Irwin, our friend Matt, both said the episode art was great. And we also got a comment from Record about Whisker Squadron Survivor looks amazing. And then over on Instagram, JJ Camera, our friend JJ Castillo, said all things Tecmo for box art. So yeah, if you want to be shouted out next week, definitely send us a note if you've been playing Pikmin 4 and you're, have anything we miss or anything in the news. Send us a note. We'll shout you out. We appreciate it when people share the podcast, and also hop on over to the YouTube if you're not already there and hit the like and subscribe buttons. And yeah, now we'll do the news. So we got a lot of news, but I think we're going to move through some of this pretty quickly. But first up is ExciteBike 64 is coming to the NSO app. I think the day this podcast comes out. So I think, if you're interested and you can go check it out now. I've never played ExciteBike 64. Have either of y'all, was this a game either of you played, or you
totally missed this one?
Play it.
you watched somebody play it.
Yeah, exactly. This totally missed me as a child. I will play this. I'll check it out. I mean, I love Wave Race. So I'm curious if it's Wave Race on the dirt.
Does the dirt physics as good as the water physics were? Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't even remember this game. Was this, do y'all know, was this a late or an early?
It was kind of later, yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I think, later N64, I kind of missed a lot of that, but
it's well regarded. I remember it getting really great reviews, and I always just kind of wondered really what's so cool about this game, and I never played it, but
here's all of our chance, right?
Yeah.
Is this the last ExciteBike game though?
There's Excite Truck on Wii.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's in the series, but not exactly. Yeah.
So the game that killed ExciteBike is supposed to be pretty good, I guess. I don't know. We'll find out. I don't know. I'm going to check it out. I'm curious now.
Yeah, I also just think these N64 games, we just got the Pokemon Coliseum 1-2 recently, but these come out real slowly. I guess they just don't have a big library of these they're going to be sharing with us. So they are really drip feeding these, it feels like.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're just having issues also trying to get third party support, and they're just drip feeding the first party games as long as they can.
There hasn't been a third party one announced, right? So that I know.
Oh, I didn't put that together, but
I don't think. I mean, you can argue that some of this GoldenEye now kind of is, or whatever.
What about Winback?
Oh, that one might have been. Yeah, good call. There might be other ones too, but it does feel light all around.
Yeah.
Another game that's coming to the Switch that I just thought we should mention here is Sea of Stars. I know a lot of people are excited about this one. Namely, I wanted to mention it because we're going to be playing this, it seems like, in the JRPG Club and on our Discord. So I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. So if this is a game you're interested in playing, come join the Discord and be part of that discussion. But are either of you planning on picking this up or playing it?
Absolutely.
Cina, is this your bag?
I like JRPGs. It's hard for me to find the time to play them all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I might get into it.
For what it's worth, I did hear somebody say, and this is third hand, so I don't know if it's true, that it's not a long game. It's like a 30-hour-ish game. So
beautiful.
I don't know if that's exact or what, but somebody on the Discord, I think, said that. So if that's true, that definitely feels a lot more doable.
Yeah, I see everyone playing Baldur's Gate 3, and they're like, yeah, the main story is 120 hours. And I'm like, That sounds awful. This is like 2023 is a year of officially now like just too many games. Like everything that got pushed back and then got delayed after the pandemic is like now coming out in 1 year, and it's just overwhelming. But yeah, I'm really stoked for this because I like the Messenger enough to play whatever this studio is going to do next. And I like the world that they built. So I'm curious to kind of like play around. And the demo was really enticing to me. And it was kind of a perfect demo because it kind of just showed a little bit of all the different aspects of it. And it just kind of like, for me, checked all the marks of like what I want out of a game like that. And hearing that it might only be, honestly, I'd probably be like 30 to 50 hours. I'd be cool in that sweet spot. But if it's more than 50 hours, I'm going to be like, I'll play it, but I might get a little crusty towards the end.
Yeah.
But I'm stoked. Yeah, I'm really excited. Also, I think it's coming day one Game Pass as well.
Oh, good to know.
So for anyone that wants to play it there. Yeah.
Well, we'll move along to just this silly, but thought we'd mention it. Nintendo put out a new Splatoon 3 song. It's called Big Betrayal. And I think what's funny about this is just the fact that it exists. It's like this Big Man is doing a song, a collaboration with Callie and Marie, and Fry and Shiver are upset, and they have like a translation, which might be the first time we've ever seen like a translation of this Splatoon language that I'm aware of. Maybe there's been other ones. So it's got the like English on the video. It's weird. It's a good song. It's weird though. And I like Splatoon, and so I wanted to mention this.
Is there like, has someone figured out the alphabet yet?
Yeah,
I decoded everything in all the games.
I don't know. Actually, I'm sure somebody's done some. If they even actually spend enough time to make it legit, right? Like, I don't know if they're Tolkiening Splatoon or not, but
I love nerds, man. I if someone does that, I will read way more about that than I will actually play Splatoon.
That makes sense. That tracks.
Anyway, yeah.
And then I thought this was interesting for a couple of reasons, but there's been a couple of recent announcements of middleware for the Nintendo Switch. In particular, of note is Denuvo, which I think is like a DRM type software that I don't know if anybody here can speak about. I know some people are critical of it. We can maybe talk about that in a minute, and then also another one called Game Driver, which is more like a tools for developers, not like a DRM. I think it's like testing and particularly suited for Unity games. But what's weird about this is the Switch is like 7 years old, and we're getting this kind of multiple announcements about new middleware. Well, first up, does anybody know anything about Denuvo? I know a lot of people online were like, Denuvo sucks. It ruins experience and that kind of thing. Cina, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I think it's basically like a compiler thing that obfuscates the code and basically checks to detect if you're basically like compares the game's runtime against known things about an emulator versus like actual hardware to detect whether or not you're running it on an emulator. And if it does, then it stops you from playing the game. But yeah, like you mentioned, I think it like kind of makes games chug sometimes and perform poorly, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. And I had a tough time filtering through the internet comments to decide if that's true or not. Like, right? Because there were some people that were like, I think it probably does on some games, and then there's some falsified like sense of like people really overly think it does, maybe more than it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to say. But what I think is really weird about this is like, and I've heard some speculation that maybe this has something to do with a Switch successor. Like maybe we're getting. I don't know, like why were new tools being, you know what I mean? Wasn't it strange at this time, unless they're both developers are trying to develop for both. And these things are going to be available on the Switch success. I don't know. Does that track for anybody or make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like, implementing these tools, to me, it speaks more to that the Switch successor will have backwards compatibility in some way, shape, or form. Because why would you introduce these new tools when a Switch successor is pretty imminent within the next 2 years at least, It just maybe, if they're not using the same infrastructure, it seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what it reads as, is we're definitely going to have some sort of backwards compatibility.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Definitely maybe.
Well, I'm really curious to get y'all's take on this next one. We got a little bit more information about the PlayStation handheld. It's called the Portal. First off, that's part of the news. We got the name for this thing. As you may recall, this requires you to have a PlayStation 5, and it requires the PlayStation 5 to be online. And there was some debate about whether you have to be on the same Wi-Fi or not, right? But apparently you don't, is my understanding. That theoretically you could play this elsewhere so long as your PlayStation is online. It doesn't. Anyway, I don't know that that's the use case for it really, but $200 also we got, and that it's coming later this year. So do y'all think that's a fair price point? Or does this interest you at all? Does anybody even have a PlayStation 5?
I do not. I think this thing looks like dog shit. That's just, I don't know. I have strong opinions about this for not really caring about it whatsoever. It's just kind of weird, but like, I don't know. Like, I get it. It probably needs to cost $200 for the screen itself, and the controllers are what, like $70, $60, I would assume. So, I mean, it makes sense, like why it costs that much money, just the technology that's involved. But it's just one of those things, like, I don't know if Sony has a grasp on what people want out of their system. We like with PSVR 2 just kind of tanking, and then this right after that, it just feels like a really weird step. I think the other thing that really just irked me in general about this is that apparently it will have no Bluetooth capability. It only uses Sony's proprietary wireless headset system. And that is just like, it reeks to me of Apple, of like trying to create these technology forks. And Sony has been doing this for a long time. I don't know if y'all remember Memory Stick, that no one uses Memory Stick anymore. We've all pretty much just switched to SD cards. And the only time Sony's really successfully done this was Blu-ray, right? But other than that, I'm like, stop. Just fucking be standard like everyone else. Like, why are we doing this? This is ridiculous. Also, their headsets are expensive. So it's just like, if you want to play this thing wirelessly at your house with headphones, it's going to cost you like $400 on top of the $500 PS5. Like, I don't know who this is for, except for like the really diehard fanboys. And that's why, again, it like really smells like Apple territory, but I don't think they have like the same level or size of the rabid fan base. So I don't know. I'm not into it. I do eventually plan to get a PS5, but I will not be picking this up when I do.
What about you, Cina? You got any opinions about this? You think $200 is reasonable?
I think $200 is a bit much. I was originally thinking like 100 sounds more correct, but Jordan's right. Like the DualSenses themselves cost like 70 something dollars. The DualSense Edge itself is like almost 150 or maybe $200. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, those are overpriced as well. So I don't know. If it were like 100 to 150, I would maybe consider getting it. I also don't have a PS5, by the way. So there's that.
Right.
It looks better than what I was expecting it to be. Like the fact that you can play online, not like, outside of your home network is cool. Though I guess it remains to be seen like what the latency looks like. If it's even playable outside.
Yeah.
I suspect it's not, but
right.
I don't know. I mean, I'd be happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I just don't think that technology is quite there yet. And then it also is based on like internet infrastructure within the US is just not there yet either. Like maybe in Japan it's much better, and maybe that's like the market they're really going for. But the game streaming, at least in my experience, every time I've ever done it, is just not quite there yet. It's close, but the latency is just a little too much, especially on like an action game. For an RPG, it doesn't really matter. Something like a turn-based RPG doesn't really matter so much. But if I'm trying to play like God of War Ragnarok and like I'm stuttering or I press a button and it takes a half second for it to register, I'm just going to turn it off.
I've been kind of surprised to see. I mean, y'all are a little bit negative about it, but there's been some positivity around it. I've seen, and I guess the use case is like obviously hardcore Sony fans, right? Like you said with the Apple thing too, right? But like, I'm guessing this is for people who maybe have trouble gaming on their TV. And I don't know if that's enough of a segment, you know what I mean? People who have families or roommates or whatever. And so this gives you a chance to play your PlayStation on the couch or in your bed or whatever. But I don't know if that's enough. We'll see for this to succeed. It does feel like Sony's making some big swings and misses though. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. And they haven't given us a date, but they have said this year. So I would expect holiday at that point. I mean, right? Like, I mean, if it's this year, I mean, they're not giving us a date. We'll see. More information when it comes out. And for now, we'll move on to talk just a little bit about Gamescom. Gamescom happened. Opening Night Live is sort of the big event where they do a lot of this time it wasn't a lot of like new games that were announced, but a lot of info about games was announced. A lot of really big AAA, heavy graphic type games. So not much Switch stuff. Sonic Superstars got a release date. I think it's the one that was leaked or rumored of October 17th. So that's maybe relevant to this crowd more. And then there were some other ones like Little Nightmares 3 was announced. That one might be relevant to this crowd as well. But there was also another like somebody taking the stage thing like that happened at the Game Awards. And I think we have to talk about that because that's maybe the most interesting thing that happened. Did y'all see that? Or do we care about this? Is this a thing now? Are people going to try to do this at every Jeff Keighley event?
Apparently, this person that did it this time, this is not the first time they've jumped on stage at some other event. They were like on some live TV show or something like that. Not related to games, but they just like jumped on stage and started bantering with the host, like GTA 6, release GTA 6 or something. And the hosts were like, that's a video game, right? Like they were totally lost. Apparently this person is like trying to become a meme of themselves or something.
Seems like it.
At this point, what is this like the third video game related time that this has happened? I can remember.
Was there 3? I could only think of the guy at the Game Awards that did it, but if there might have been other ones.
I feel like there was one other one. I could be wrong.
Yeah, you might be wrong.
Comment if I was wrong. Anyway, but tighten your security. Like, what do we do? Like if this happens once, it's an accident. If it happens 2 times, it's a little suspicious. The 3rd time, I think it's a plant. But that's just my like one level deep conspiracy theory. Just one level. It's not like, we're not going all the way down. I just think it's one level deep conspiracy theory that Rockstar hired someone to go on stage to drum up some publicity, internet meme publicity for GTA 6. That's just my one level deep conspiracy theory. You heard it here first.
Maybe it was Bill Clinton.
Yeah, me to drum up some Bill Clinton support.
Anyway,
man, I don't have strong feelings about Jeff Keighley. I really don't care that much.
Yeah.
I actually think he's fine, like for who he is and what he does, and appreciate that he's making video games. I don't know, more mainstream or whatever. But he just seemed so upset. I don't know if y'all watched when this happened, but he just I think this is easier said than done, but the thing I think he should have done is just moved on. But he was like so upset. He just kept being like, it's just really disappointing that this, he kept going like that. And I was like, okay, you said it, Jeff, move on, dude. You're only making it worse. Like, but you could tell he was really embarrassed and really like, cause he's about to have like Todd Howard come out and like about, you know what I mean? Like it was just if we could just not do this anymore.
It's like, this is why we can't have nice things, gamers. What? I'm trying to do good shit for y'all and y'all just keep doing this to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I wonder if like that was not even necessarily directed at like the audience, but more like his team. Like,
yeah, this is disappointing. Right? Yeah,
that's what I read. I was like,
that makes
this is
sense.
really disappointing. And like looks over to his security team on the side, like, how did y'all let this happen again?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff at opening night live. We're glossing over it. I honestly watched very little of it, and a lot of the games that get announced at that thing aren't for me. So unless there's anything y'all want to talk about from it, we can move on.
The only thing I'll say is that one of the announcements, I did end up starting to play Marvel Snap because they released it on Steam, and it was announced at that. But I'll talk about that later.
Okay, cool. Well, that makes a nice segue, Steam, to this next news item, which is about Epic. I think this is really interesting. Epic Game Store, Epic really wants a slice of that Steam money. They really want that market, and they've been doing all sorts of stuff, right? They give away free games. They have incentivized people to have exclusivity, and that sort of thing. They have a new program to incentivize developers for Epic Game Store exclusivity. And that is that developers can keep 100% of their revenue for 6 months if they launch exclusively on the Epic Game Store for that period of time. And I don't know, that's sort of the headline of it. I don't know if there's any other fine print. I think Epic actually takes less than Steam takes 30%. Epic takes like 20 or something like that. But, or maybe even less than that. I'm looking now, it might just be 12, but it doesn't matter either way. I just think this is kind of nuts. I mean, Epic is just throwing money trying to be the next Steam. And I don't know if it's working or not. I feel like hardcore PC gamers that I know, which is a very small fraction, hate Epic Game Store. Like they're like, I just want all my things on Steam. So I don't know if it's working or not, but
yeah, that's pretty interesting. Like, that's kind of crazy, that 6-month exclusivity. I mean, I also, though, like, I don't think it'll in the long run work, because gamers are on PC, gamers specifically have been using Steam for so long. Like, personally, I do have like my libraries, like, from 15 years of collecting games on Steam. So switching over and having another launcher is just, Epic is definitely, if you're going to have two launchers, it's Steam and Epic. I hate when like EA has their own launcher. It's just like it's like the streaming giants. They all want to have their own little piece of the pie, and it just gets really annoying for the end consumer. But that's kind of crazy. I also see a situation happening much like, dude, I can't even think of the name. What was the Microsoft competitor to Twitch?
Oh, yeah.
Where they launched and they signed all these streamers with huge, I can't even remember the name of it.
That's can't either.
It wasn't that long ago, but they just threw so much money at all these streamers to switch exclusively to them. And then when it shut down, they got to keep the money and go back to Twitch. And I have a feeling like something similar is going to happen. It's like these games are going to release here for 6 months, and then they're going to go straight to Steam and then make all their money there. I just don't see it working in the way that they want it to work,
Yeah, I'm not sure a lot of developers are going to be super keen on it either, because release is a big deal, right? I mean, that's why they're doing this. And like, we'll find out how many developers take this up going forward. And we'll move on to another sort of maybe not Switch related news, but sort of big industry related, which is that BioWare had a bunch of layoffs. I mean, maybe a bunch is a stretch, but 50-ish people were laid off from BioWare, which is interesting. I mean, it's not just junior people either. Like, apparently, like the senior writer at BioWare got laid off, which makes you wonder about this new Dragon Age game. Like, what is going on over there? It's also just sucks to see layoffs like this in any industry, but in video games too, because it's hard, man, I don't know what this means for BioWare. It doesn't seem good though.
I used to like BioWare a lot. And then the past decade has just been like one disappointment after another. I think
Yeah.
like the last game that I actually liked from them was probably Dragon Age Inquisition. But man, I don't know what's going on over there, man. Like it just something they're not able to kind of transition. And I don't know if it's they lost too many senior people early on or what, but I mean, maybe they're just trying to get some new blood in there and see what they can do, but something's not right over there. I don't know. That doesn't ever feel like a good way to run your company, to fire your senior writing staff. Like to me, it seems like maybe they felt like they were paying them too much money and they're trying to save money and pay another person less money to do that job. I don't know if that's what's happening or what, but it's unfortunate. I hope those who were laid off land on their feet somewhere else.
And then last up, we don't have to talk about this a lot. I just thought this was a nice segue for us to move into our main topic, which is that Pikmin 4, it continues to lead the sales in the Japanese charts. I don't have the numbers in front of me because apparently I put a broken link in here, but I know it was close to like 750,000, 70 something. I shouldn't even say it because I'm going off the top of my head. But anyway, continues to lead sales in Japan. So it's obviously doing really well in that region. We'll find out, next time Nintendo releases financials, but it seems likely to at least hit the million seller mark and beyond. And unless y'all have anything about that, I think we can close out the news and actually talk after this break all about Pikmin 4, spoilers for the story in the game, in the post game, and all that stuff when we come back. All right, we are back, and this week we are talking all about Pikmin 4. The game's been out for over a month now, and well, I think we've all beat the main game at least, and some of us much more than that. And so we thought it would be fun to do an episode where we dive into spoiler territory and really talk about, this game and all the post-game stuff and kind of not just like all that stuff, but also kind of how it compares to maybe the other games in the series, what I'm kind of interested in, but we'll save that part for the end more, maybe. But when we do these episodes about games, we usually do them right after it releases. So it's been fun to do these sort of later ones where we come back once we've played more of the game and have slightly different attitudes about it sometimes. But yeah, let's talk about it. I think Pikmin 4 is a really good game, but I'm not sure it's my favorite Pikmin game anymore. Like, I don't know. After playing through it, I think it's a great intro to the series. What it does do well, though, or what's kind of cool about it, is that it has more of a story that opens up more lore and more like, man, how many fucking planets are there now in this?
Oh yeah,
like universe, right? Like, because we had Hakote for the first few games, and then in 3 we got Kopai as well. And I thought, okay, maybe there'll be a couple new ones when they started, and then every character felt like they were from a different planet. These little people have expanded their civilization in the stars. There's a lot more characterization in this game than the other ones too, right? Like a lot more characters and so I think the story is a little bit more rich for that. I think that's maybe one thing this game does really well, right?
I mean, you're right that there are like more planets, but I don't know that like they're distinct from each other in any way. So I don't know like how much deeper it actually is.
True.
Like they might as well all be from Kopai or whatever.
Yeah. That's true. It just felt like another name on these cards. Like it was an excuse to have a planet on these little ID cards. Yeah, that's a good point. The only difference is Kopaites have pointy ears or rounded ears, but all the other ones don't, I guess.
I wasn't paying close enough attention to like, I read every piece of text that was presented to me in the game, which
there's a lot.
Is quite a lot, to be honest. Like way more than I was expecting for a game pretty much made for children. I don't know. I was like, this is a lot of reading, man. But I don't think I like really thought about the lore implications while I was reading it. But I do. Is there like definitely a connection between like so like as you get further into the game, you have like different sections of survivors that have like all traveled to the planet, which I thought was pretty cool actually, because you got to see like different sections of the civilization. They're like, oh, these people are here. They're like doing a TV show. There's some people that coming on like a space tour. There's some people like looking for like art. Some people are, and so I like that aspect of it because it kind of give you like a different flavor. Like this civilization isn't all just about exploration. It's like they all have different kind of like segments of their society that they work within between the different planets. But I wasn't paying enough attention to like figure out, is this planet known for this thing? Is this planet known for this thing? Like, you know what I mean? But I thought that was pretty cool because it kind of made the world feel more lived in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what this game does. And that's a good way to put it. I think this it fleshes out some stuff and like that, but like kind of to Cina's point about like all these planets don't really matter. Like it seems like they came up with this rescuing people mechanic idea, and then the first 20 or so people you rescue have missions for you and tie in a little more, and then as it kind of wore on, I stopped talking to them. I stopped caring about them because they were just like another person from this team, and then you'd go talk to them and they wouldn't have much to say, and it was a little like diminishing returns on the later rescues. But
I imagine they had to invent new people because they had these Ochi skills that you had to have some currency to buy, so they needed to like invent the backstory character for you to rescue.
That's like they needed a way for you to get the pup drive points, right? And this was one of them. And then also like converting leaflings with night. There's so much I want to talk about. We should stop talking about this because I think the upgrades, you just brought that up. Well, let's talk about that because I think we kind of barely scratched the surface on the first episode we did about it. My biggest criticism of this game is that it's just too easy. And then there's just a gigantic difficulty spike at the end.
Dude. Yeah.
Like it goes from I'm cruising to like just I'm running into a brick wall. Like, and I think it's not ideal, but I think, all these upgrades and stuff, they make it a little too easy. And I know everyone says, well, you don't have to do them, but I'm kind of like, they're there and I have the money and I want, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be like, I'm going to turn down this stuff. Right. Like, especially the lab upgrades. I mean, actually both of them, Ochi and the lab upgrades. Like I didn't go around buying a bunch of bomb rocks because I didn't need to but all the like HP plus and all that stuff, and even half of that I didn't really need either. The lab upgrades, I kind of got them. And then alternatively, some of those I kind of like are innate things that I wish were there from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, which is kind of the reverse. Like the charging whistle. I really wish that charging whistle was just there. That was kind of annoying to get late in the game. I also hate that you can't use the charging whistle while you're on Ochi. That always frustrated me. Like,
that's fair.
Especially for that last fight.
Well, the upgrades, like, I kind of like looked at it like, okay, what do I need for the level that I'm in currently, and kind of like did my upgrade path that way. And I was kind of curious how like other people did their upgrade path, because there was like definitely Ochi things that I was like, this is required, like this is going to be super helpful no matter where I'm at. But then like for a lot of the like lab upgrades, I was more just doing kind of like piecemeal, like, oh, okay, this has a lot of fire, I'm going to get the fire defense stuff, that kind of thing. But I feel like it was a decent enough pace to where like I didn't unlock all the lab upgrades and all the Ochi upgrades until right at the end, which so I mean, I guess technically it has a good like pace, but there are some upgrades that are like, you don't really need this. That's why I left it to the end, but so, how did you upgrade your character, and that's what I'm curious about, because I think out of both of us, I think you're the one who actually finished 100% everything in the game, right?
Yeah, I did. Did you guys, like, how far did you guys go?
Great.
So I got to, oh man, I was like just trying to like power through this game the past like week and a half, and like every time I thought I was getting close to the end, like a new thing opens up. It's like it just the layers keep opening more and more and more, which is great because my criticism whenever I was playing this game originally, I was like, this feels like a really short game for $60. And it's like, dude, I'm like 41 hours in and I'm not 100% yet. And I was like, damn, okay, this actually does have a wide breadth of content. So I got to, okay, so I haven't finished all the night missions, but I'm very close. I think I have just area 6 night missions left. I did the Sage Leaf Trials sans number 10, which is, in my opinion, the hardest fucking part of this game. I'm so frustrated. I spent like an hour on it today and I could not beat it. And I just like, I think I know how I'm supposed to do it, but like actually getting it done is like another thing entirely. And then as far as like, I 100%ed all of the areas, and I even got, I think, the gold brick.
Oh man, you got the gold brick.
Yeah,
without doing the 10th. That's impressive.
Yeah, without doing the 10th. I cheesed it because once you get to sub-level 12 of the Cavern of Kings, there's a section where you can turn 10 Pikmin into heavy. So I just did that like 5 times.
Right.
And then I had enough Pikmin to get the gold thing. Anyway, so I have not finished the Cavern of Kings yet, though. I'm like 65% in that. So I'm like really close to have doing, and I finished Olamar's story, which I feel like we should talk about that eventually too, because that was interesting. But that's where I'm at. Sorry, that was really long-winded.
No,
Patrick,
real briefly, I think I have beaten the game. So I've done the Cavern of Kings, which is the final cave in the storyline, right? Just for anybody who's listening, because they don't care about spoilers, but they haven't played it. You beat the game, you roll credits, then you have like, I don't know, a third of the game left, right? Still.
Yeah.
And then there's a final sort of cave that feels like a pretty big difficulty spike for the main game. And the final boss even feels kind of like a big difficulty spike, even for that cave. And so I've beaten that, but I have not done past the 4th Sage Leaf. That's where I am. So you might technically be farther than me, Jordan, all things considered, but we're,
who knows? I don't know how to measure this.
Right. It's hard to measure it.
It's all split up.
Yeah.
Going back to the upgrades for a second.
Yeah.
I think the path that I took, like, I'm trying to remember, it's been like about a month since I beat this game and then I kind of put it down. But I remember focusing, like one of the things that I tried to prioritize as far as lab upgrades went were the elemental protections for both me and Ochi. And then I'm honestly like forgetting some of the other upgrades.
There's hit point upgrades.
Yeah.
There's like whistle upgrades, and stuff like that.
I also think the lab upgrades were generally easier to come by. Like I had a lot more raw materials. Most of the game that I had towards the end, like some of the ones started costing a lot of money. And then like right when I'd unlock some of the later ones, like then he'd add more that were like also 230 raw materials. So they took me a little bit more to get. But I remember like having like clearing out his inventory and then not having anything else to buy for like a lot of the game.
Like there, in my humble opinion, there are a few upgrades that are like good, like the homesick signal and stuff like that. And again, it's stuff like that you just kind of innately have in some of the other Pikmin games. So I felt a little annoyed having them come halfway through the game or whenever. But like, I didn't feel like a lot of the lab upgrades were that useful.
The idle one, the idle whistle or whatever, I think is like super clutch. Like you're saying, I don't think I really used homesick signal. I think that's one of the ones that I put off buying for the longest time.
It's basically the idle signal, right? But even if they're not idle, then it calls them back, and so like it's
which is like kind of why I didn't buy it.
Right, you didn't need it. It's more like the end of the day panic if you have a bunch of people doing stuff. But if you're smart, you don't do that. The hit points upgrades for both Ochi and your character, I just don't think occasionally Ochi died when I played, but like probably I could count it on one hand. And and honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal usually, right? Like there's no bosses in this game really. I mean, I think I missed bosses. Not that there are really bosses in Pikmin 1, but I don't know. It just kind of felt like I didn't really need some of the upgrades, including Ochi's too. But I prioritized with Ochi at first carrying, because that's early game. It was nice to have Ochi carry stuff, and especially because they don't let you have 100 Pikmin for a long time. Ochi could just carry big things, and especially in like those Dandori challenges and stuff, that can make a big difference. But once I started doing night missions, I switched to prioritizing Bite, Ochi's strength, so that I could just have Ochi patrol. But honestly, that also, then I quickly realized that's really not, the night missions really weren't that hard either, in my humble opinion. I mean, some of them were, when there's just 2 smoky progs or something, it could get hard. But I
think the very last night mission gave me a lot of trouble. I had to like get pretty tight.
That one had like the jumbo bulb or sovereign bulblaxes.
Yeah, a couple of sovereign bulblaxes.
And then like a smoky prog too. That one was that's again same thing with the main game, right? Where like you're cruising through and then you kind of hit a harder spot in a way that didn't always feel like a nice linear difficulty curve or whatever.
I also feel like too, like for some of the night missions, and especially that last one, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I have a lot of glow seeds, and I think I'm just gonna
use them.
Once I get to the last mission, I'm just gonna use 100 glow seeds and just brute force my way through this mission, which is kind of like not making it not difficult. I don't know. It kind of speaks to it gets like a little easy, but I haven't played that night mission, so I can't speak to it, but I have like 150 glow seeds or something like that. And I'm like, by the end of the last night mission, might as well just use them all. Why not? And just have a massive army of glow Pikmin.
The other place glow seeds could be useful is fighting the ancient Sire Hound in that last cave in the story, because we're doing spoilers. We're doing spoilers here, because they have a lot of different elemental attacks, and and like glow Pikmin are immune to all elemental stuff. So the first time I fought the ancient Sire Hound, I lost, and because I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, or jumping around a little bit, but like that final cave felt to me like a Pikmin 2 cave, whereas every other cave just felt so easy. Like that was the first one where like I got to the end and I only had like 30 something Pikmin, and I was like, oh, and this is a tough fight. I'm going to throw out these glow seeds to try to make a difference. Again, my main criticism here is that fight was fun and it was hard and I liked it, but it almost was like too hard compared to the rest of the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like just the balancing of stuff in this game didn't really strike me that well.
I have a question about another sort of boss in this game. Did you guys have trouble with the disco spider? I had to spend like several tries beating that thing.
I don't remember if it was particularly troublesome, but I do remember enjoying that moment of like my Pikmin are dancing around.
Oh my, do you know the canon name for this spider? I just looked it up.
No.
I forgot it.
Groovy long legs.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a great name. I love it.
I don't think it was as hard of an enemy, and there were more of them, but the one with the gun was kind of striking too. The metal spider with the gun, because you're also like, this is a Pikmin game and there's fucking gunfire.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because I was like thinking the same thing when I was playing it. I was like, why is there a gun in Pikmin? And it's the only enemy with a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 100 enemies in this game, and only one of them has a gun.
It wasn't very organic. Like all the enemies are very organic, right? Like, and that's what felt a little weird about it too.
I do like that enemy though. Like that is probably one of my top 5 favorite enemies in the game, just because it is so out of place. I was like, every time.
And I'm running in circles under it because it's, firing at me or whatever. Waiting for that to cease. Yeah.
I, for whatever reason too, it's just like the way that the areas wherever it appears are designed. I just really liked. I thought because it's like they usually gave you some cover, so you could like hide behind the cover, and I was like, oh, okay. So it's just like well thought out for that type of enemy. And I feel like a lot of the enemies, they just plop them in an open space, maybe with a little bit of sticky on the ground that you just clear out. And it's like this one, you had to like think about like, oh, okay, I can go to cover while he's firing, and then I can pop back out. And I just thought that was like really nicely designed. But yeah, most of the other large enemies, like they just plop them in a big open space, and it made it really easy to figure out, oh, okay, I attack now, I wait, I attack now, I wait. And that one kind of gave me a little bit more of creative freedom of like how to engage with it.
I felt like the Sovereign Bull Blacks was like the right amount of difficulty for this game. Like those enemies were tough. Whenever one came up, it would be a little bit intimidating. And then I think it's the final cave where they have the Sovereign Bull Blacks on the sand, and then when it crushes, it becomes water. Mm-hmm. Like that was a really great battle. But I feel like there just weren't enough of those kind of moments in the game for me. Maybe for a new Pikmin player, there was a lot of excitement and some of and difficulty and kind of learning this stuff. But I felt like there could have been more of that.
I feel like for the Sovereign Bull Blacks though, like once I realized you could just throw a bomb whenever it stuck its tongue out, and then it'll eat the bomb, and then you just throw all your Pikmin, you can pretty much kill it in one go. I was like, oh, these are not that hard once you figure it out. And like the items made it really easy to cheese this game, because I was like, man, these are tough. I'm losing like 10 to 30 Pikmin per fight minimum, then once I figured that out, I was like, oh, this is nothing. I got it.
The items again make this game easy. And again, you could say you don't have to use them, but then once
why are they there?
Yeah, like I'm not a big fan of the like self-limited difficulty, especially on my first playthrough of something, or especially just in general. Like if something is there and there's a way to do it, I will probably do that, even if it makes it less enjoyable. And so that's, yeah.
That being said, it is like a puzzle solving process to figure out like, oh, okay, what works to beat this enemy. Totally. And I think that for me, like, even if it made the game easier, the process of figuring out how to do that without looking it up was enjoyable for me. And I feel like that's a lot of this game is like, I'm overpowered, but I figured out how to be overpowered in this particular situation. And that's why I enjoyed it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like, it's almost a different approach than some of the other three Pikmin games, really, because the thing that was challenging in those games isn't as challenging here, right? Like whether it's Pikmin management or day management, which are what the other games had, I feel like you don't have that problem in this game, because you can take as much days as you want for most things, and you can grow Pikmin like crazy in this game. Other than purple and white, really, which them locking the purple and white onions behind the final stuff in the game feels kind of dumb to me. I don't know if y'all agree with that. Like, I guess it's cool to get it. It's the same problem with putting an upgrade at the end, right? Like now, which I think is not just unique to Pikmin 4. I think about like plenty of games where you get an upgrade near the end and then you beat it, and that would have been fun 30 minutes ago or a couple hours ago.
So it's interesting that you say that, though, because the way that I played the game is I rolled the initial credits, and then immediately I went and talked to Olimar.
That's what you should do. I have learned now.
And then he was like, let me tell you a story. I was like ready for some text. And then he started to talk about, the start of the story. And then it jumped into like the Olimar mission. I was like, oh. And then I played it some more, and I was like, oh, they're just like, they put the first game in this game.
Right. This Pikmin 1
And
again.
then I played, yeah, exactly. So I found that really enjoyable, and I played through all of that.
You did it the right way.
Yeah.
I think. I humbly submit to you that you're the first person. I've only talked to a few people who played this far, but like I've talked to somebody else who did the same thing I did, which is you hear that and you're like, oh, okay, I'll save that because I'm in the mode of doing this other thing. And in hindsight, I wish we had done that first, because the rewards for the Trial of the Sage Leaf are a lot more applicable for the post game. And I think, I think I can see why they designed it that way, because it makes sense, right? Like you did what you did. You go talk to Olimar after you rescue or heal Olimar, and then the way that Olimar's story, adventure, whatever they call it, works is it doesn't really give you a break. It kind of just loads the next day. You can stop it and you can go back, but I think they did that on purpose for that reason.
Yeah. And I, for a long time, I didn't really realize that you could exit out of it without losing your progress. And so I played through like most of it. I think I finished it in like 2 days, like over 2 days or something like that. 2
real life
human days.
Yeah.
Actually, I finished that in like 13 in-game days, and I think the limit is what, 15?
Yeah, right? That's what I did too. I think I had 2 spare, which felt pretty good. That I will say that was maybe slightly too easy, but not like as much too easy as some of the other game. I felt like it was more balanced.
I sort of like, I feel like I wasted a lot of time in the first few days before I like really realized, oh, they're just like doing the whole first game again. And then, so I was like kind of cutting it close to catch up towards the end. I wasn't sure I was going to make it. And then like the last couple days, I like found like 4 or 5 ship parts.
Yeah. I think the last day I also found like 4 or 5. Like, I don't know if it's designed for the last few in the last area, which is maybe Serene Shores, or no, it's the house.
Yeah.
Like the kitchen area of the house feels like you go back there and then you're like, bam, 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 or whatever.
Yeah, it is cool the way that's designed too, because like by the time you get to his story, you have already been to all of these areas and you kind of know the gimmicks and like slightly know the layouts. Particularly with like Serene Shores, I was like, are they going to do the midday like reduction in the water? And sure enough, they did. And the verticality of the house level as well. So like, yeah, because I had the same experience where I was like lagging at the beginning, and I was like, shit, am I going to make the 15 days? Like, or am I going to have to redo this entire thing? And then like, yeah, once you got towards the end, you get in the rhythm, you're like, oh no, okay. Especially the house. Like I remember there was like a day I got like 5 or 6 parts in a day. And I was like really nervous because there was a couple days I had to eat, because you have to get every part from every area.
To get to the next one, or you mean just in general?
Just in general, like you have to get every part from every area. So there were some areas that I had left and I only had 1 part left. And I was like, I had to eat a day just to get 1 part. And I was like, man, this is like, am I going to make it? But I ended up making it same as y'all with 2 days left over. Nice. So, yeah, I actually really enjoyed that section of the game.
Me too.
It's like much smaller in scope. And after the large scale of the original missions, felt really nice. I kind of played it in a weird order though, because like I played that for a couple days in game days, and then I hopped out and I went to area 5, 100% into area 5, then went back and did like another couple days, went and started area 6, and then I went back and finished it. And when I finished it, then I realized the Sage of the Leaf Trials opened up, and I was like, oh, I should have done this first. Yeah, so then I did that, but I did that 1 through 9 all the way, and then I couldn't beat 10, as I talked about. Yeah, I don't know. Olimar's Adventure, I was like, man, this is a really cool game in a game, and one of my favorite examples of that in recent memory, for sure.
It's also nice that like the days are shorter too. Yes. So it's just like a quicker, but also like slightly more challenging experience because of that.
Yeah.
And I think just having the 3 main Pikmin types was nice too, and not having caves. Like it really was a little more like Pikmin 1, obviously, with a glow up, and
felt really tight. Like just the whole story experience felt really tight, and I'm really curious to see what the speedrunning community does with that section in particular. Because I'm pretty sure, you know, I mean, there's probably going to be Pikmin 4 speedruns for sure, right? But that's going to be its own thing, which is going to be really fun to watch. Yeah.
Totally. And they do put like an odd number of parts in some of those areas. And I think, like to see somebody master getting just all of them in one day would be pretty sweet. Yeah. I think the only thing I felt like they just have de-emphasized in this game overall. And I really thought they might not end that, but it did, growing Pikmin, like, and them being critical. Like by the time I beat All in Mars Adventure, I had like 300 of each of the Pikmin types. Right. And it just like, without even really trying, like, and I think this game made me miss the Pikmin management aspect of all of the other games to some extent, right? And I really only felt it on that final cave where it was like, and even then I beat it because I was able to leave and then come back in with another 100 Pikmin, you know what I mean? Like, which I tried not to do, but I had to do because I was down to just a few and I got it the first time I tried it. And I could have rewound, but I was like, no, I need more. I need some freaking yellow Pikmin in here or whatever. So,
speaking of rewind feature,
we should talk about that.
How much did y'all use / abuse that feature?
Not that much for me. Partly because I didn't care. Like sometimes the game would prod me, and be like, "Hey, you lost 5 Pikmin today," and I'd be like, "5 Pikmin." Like, I don't care about that. When I would mostly do it is like a really dumb thing. Like I'm in a cave and like, I remember, those, I don't know the name of the enemy that look like big caterpillars that roll the balls or something. Like occasionally I just make a dumb mistake where like 50 of my Pikmin get squashed or whatever. Yeah. And then I'm like, I can't live with that. Like we got to go back 2 minutes and not make that dumb mistake.
Yeah.
Or like that final boss, like the poison in particular on the Ancient Sire Hound. I found the poison segment to be tricky. Cause like if any Pikmin walks into that, they're just boom, gone. And there were a couple of times where I screwed up and I was like, nope, let's back up just another minute. Did you use it a lot, Cina?
I used it a lot. But also part of that is because like I, even up until like towards the very end of the game, I like in the back of my mind, I didn't totally believe that the days were meaningless. And so I was still trying to like make the most of my days throughout the entire game. And so like a lot of the times that I would rewind were like when it was getting towards the end of the day and like I had just come out of a cave or something. And I was like, oh, I bet I can go like get these last couple treasures in here real quick. And so I would like rewind and like try to like get as optimal of a route from like my cave to these treasures. And I try to knock them all out. And like, it's like, I tried to be as efficient with my time as I could.
That's
no reason.
Well, but I think that's where the challenge of this game lies, right? Like the game is not necessarily hard to beat or even 100%. The main story, maybe the final trial stuff is harder, but like, I think it's in doing it really efficiently, right? Like I beat it in 40 days or whatever. Or I beat it in 30 days or whatever. Yeah.
The Dan Dory.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dan Dory of the experience.
Yeah. But I think so I think if I play it again, I'm going to know that more going in. And I think that will make it more fun which I'm talking about 6 months from now or something, but because the whole time I was kind of hoping for more of an experience like the previous games that it didn't really deliver on. But it wasn't bad. It was great. I think overall, I think it's really fun that Louis is the villain of the second half of the game too. And that moment in the credits where Louis pops up was a really fun moment when you're watching the credits to be like, oh. I also thought Nell and Don Bergman, the only castaway with a last name, and I forget the other one's name that's part of that group, are a clear reference to the 3 copites from Pikmin 3. I kind of wonder why they didn't just, I guess because Brittany's not a veterinarian or something, but they look like them. They act like them in the way they talk and stuff like that. So that was kind of fun, like a little nod. Because, the game had a few nods to the other games, and those were nice. Is there anything else that y'all want to make sure we talk about? There are a few things I have in mind.
I use rewind feature not at all until the post game.
Yeah.
Pretty much I don't think I used it almost at all during the main game. And then once I got to that post game, there was it was really easy in some of those situations to make a mistake where oh shit, I just lost 60 Pikmin out of my 100 in this cave, and I can't finish this floor without those Pikmin. And so I would rewind, but then sometimes I would just use it as a way of I'm just going to fuck around and find out. And then I'm going to rush all in, see what happens. Okay, now I'm going to rewind and it's okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of use it as an exploratory measure.
Yeah.
But then I got a little addicted to it. And
that's what happened to me. It's exactly, I just got a taste of the power of rewind, and then
you're just trying to min-max everything.
Exactly.
And it's no, I still have so many Pikmin in reserve. It doesn't matter if I lose 10.
Yeah.
I can figure this out. Yeah. So I'm kind of conflicted on the feature as a whole, because it does limit the difficulty curve, but also with the difficulty curve being so spiked at the end, you know what? Fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about the difficulty in general in this game. Is I'm a little bit iffy about it, but at the same time, if that brings more people into this series, then that's fine. And I think I have a better sense of this game now after having done all of this stuff.
I will say, as someone who only played Pikmin 1 when it came out and then playing Pikmin 4, I'm pick-pilled. I feel good. I'm this is a fun game and way more fun than I was expecting to have with this game. When it was announced, I'm going to be honest, I was I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
I probably won't play this game. And then once I got my hands on it, I was I can't stop. It's a completionist thing too. Mm-hmm. And it makes it really easy to finish completing everything. And that feels really good. So it's this really satisfying sense of getting 100% in the area. And it's not that hard, but it just takes time and planning. And I don't know. It felt really good. It drip feeds you these dopamine hits in the right way that I'm man, they knew what they were doing. This is a very addicting game, despite the difficulty spikes at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good argument for the difficulty spikes at the end, right? The game is really good at encouraging you and to 100% it all, because it's not that hard for a while. And then you get to the very end and getting that gold bar and beating the Trial of the Sage Leaf they're kind of tied together, is kind of hard. And that final cave is kind of challenging too. And so I think but you're dang it, I'm going to stick with it. You know what I mean? That's nicely designed like that.
Yeah. One thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up though, is just the Dandori challenges in general are my favorite thing about this game. They're so much fun. I ended up platinuming all of the Dandori challenges in this game, and the Sage Leaf trials, man, some of those were so tough to platinum.
I can't believe that. Yeah, I'm going to spend more time with those Trial of the Sage Leaf, but there are many of those where I barely got bronze, and I'm the idea that you got platinum. This in Pikmin 3, I felt the same way about all the challenge mode stuff. In Pikmin 3 Deluxe, all the challenge modes, you'll do it once and you're there's no way I can beat it. And then you beat it on bronze and you're there's no way I can get platinum. And then you just keep doing it. And then you're oh, but if I do that, yeah. And that's a really satisfying thing. And they do it really well in these too.
Yeah. Jordan, which one is the 10th one that you're stuck on?
It's the purple, it's where you have to get the purple onion. So it's you kind of have to send Ochi out to kind of clear the way for you. and then you have to be gathering enough heavy Pikmin to carry 100
Oh yeah. And the little like space
purple.
guy pops down. Yes.
Yeah, and then the
remember
weird
that.
space water
Yeah.
creature.
The water wraith? Is it a water wraith?
I don't know what it's
on
called.
the rollers.
On
Yes.
the rollers,
Yeah, that's the water wraith. Yeah.
It reminds me of never mind. I can't think of the movie, so I'm not even going to say it. There's a movie where there's like a water creature like that. It's like invisible almost. But yeah, that's the one I'm stuck on. I just like was beating my head against the wall today trying to get it done, and it's like if you don't start carrying that purple onion by a certain point, you're just never going to be able to carry it far enough. And so like I was able to like figure out how to clear the path pretty well, but it's like figuring out when to start carrying that, but then also make sure it doesn't, all your Pikmin carrying it don't get just run over, because as soon as they get run over, you have to start it over. There's no way to finish the challenge. So, but yeah, that's what I was stuck on. But I will say, like, I do like to the Dandori challenge. I really like the Dandori challenges. I really like the nighttime missions, and I really like the base game. But they're all like different. And I think that's what I really like about this one in particular, because it's like Pikmin 1 is a very specific experience, right? Like you're just trying to collect the ship parts in every area. This one is like you have so many different gameplay loops going on at the same time, but they're all individually very fun. So like when you get bored of one or frustrated with one, you're like, you know what? It's cool. I'm just going to switch over to the area 6 and I'm just going to keep going there. Or, oh, I'm frustrated. I'm going to go to Olimar story and we can keep going on that. So for me, that was like really nice. I was like, oh, okay, I can just keep switching between these until I eventually beat them all. And it was like a nice little break.
That's a good call. I think, Pikmin 1 and 2 don't have that at all. And then 3 Deluxe, especially the Deluxe version, has that a little bit. And I think that they leaned into that. And I think that makes sense because, yeah, it mixes it up. There are a few things I really want to hit before we close out, which is auto locking. This is the first game that has really aggressive auto locking. And I found it frustrating at times, but it wasn't as frustrating as I thought it might be. Because there are times when, say, like there's an item up high and you're encouraged to use yellow Pikmin, but if you cheese it, if you get the right angle, you can do it. But because of auto locking, I'm auto locking on the wrong thing or something like that, and so I found that a little frustrating. Or sometimes when I'm fighting a tough enemy and there's a dead enemy or a treasure next to them, I would get frustrated because the game would lock onto that. And also the Pikmin AI would sometimes start picking those things up and be like, what the fuck are you doing? I didn't throw you with that. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be attacking that guy. And so
or Ochi goes and grabs a thing with like 3 Pikmin. You're like, no.
Like many times when I have Ochi could do this by himself, right? Like, I think sometimes the game was too smart for its own good, but I guess that's better than bad AI of Pikmin or not being able to lock onto things, which is the problem on the earlier games.
Did y'all play with motion controls on or no?
No,
I did not. I didn't even experiment with it. Did you?
No.
I turned them off right away.
Yeah.
They're on by default, right?
Oh, are they? If they are, then I don't know.
Maybe not. Or maybe I tried them for a second and then I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Turn them off.
I think we also got to talk about Ochi, because Ochi's just such a game changer in terms of the gameplay. And it's the same sort of thing where I can't see a Pikmin game in the future without Ochi now, or a, new dog or moss or whatever. But I also feel like that kind of really changes the gameplay in a lot of ways that I feel wishy-washy about it. I think it's probably one of the best things about this game, but also it really does kind of change fundamentally what you're doing and how you do it, that you can, so there's so many times where I'm like, all my Pikmin are protected because they're all on Ochi, and that feels a little cheap compared to the other games. And then I also missed the co-op from 3 Deluxe. I think it's just a shame. When we did the first episode, David was like, I don't know why they didn't do it with Ochi. And I kind of said something like, I can see why they didn't, because it wouldn't be right. But the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, who cares if it's a little crazy? Like, what was fun playing Pikmin 3 co-op is the yelling at each other, like, go over there. No, I need you over there. And if you had to like be like, no, I need to ride you. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a fun, like, no, I'm over here. And like, no, we got to hop up these steps. That would have been fun to yell at my son like that. But instead we just got to make the game even easier with pebble pitching, which can really make the game easy. If you want to like cheese this game, you can just sit there and have your friend kill enemies in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it almost is a missed opportunity to have Ochi be the second player.
Yeah.
Because like there is a lot of moments where it is asymmetric gameplay of like Ochi could be, you could have Ochi be clearing out enemies or like digging up a wall or doing something completely different than what you're doing because you're going to get there eventually. And like, I feel like that was like, oh, that would have been a great second player thing to do. Like, oh, hey, can you go clear out this area? I'll be there in like 2 minutes. And I just want to be throwing my Pikmin to carry stuff back to the base and like get it prepared for me. I'll be there in 2 minutes, you know? So I feel like that was almost a missed opportunity. You said I get why they didn't do it because it's really fun to ride the dog. That's what you said. And I was like, you know what? You're right. It is really fun to ride the dog. Didn't do it
because it would be like, no, I don't want you riding on me. I want to go over here or whatever. Like,
But I think it is almost a missed opportunity. Like, and I'm sure they tried it and they experimented with it. But yeah, but I do like the addition of Ochi. I definitely think that is really cool, like gameplay mechanic, because I'm a really big fan of like asymmetric gameplay to where you have two characters that work in tandem but play differently and do different things. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked Ochi a lot. One of the last Ochi upgrades that I got was the command one that lets you like say go here, and I really wish that I had gotten that earlier in hindsight because it was super useful to like switch to Ochi real quick, send him somewhere, and then switch back and go, do what I was going to do.
Some real Dandori stuff there. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, especially once you get 100 carry on Ochi, you're like, oh, hey, go pick up this 30 thing. I'm going to take my 100 Pikmin. Instead of having to lose 30 Pikmin, you just send Ochi to do it, and you just go about your day. Yeah.
It's really interesting that they took Pikmin 1 and retold it. You know what I mean? Instead of pushing the story forward too, as something else that I thought about. That we saw that and all this, but I think it was cool. I think this game is great. It's a great entry point for new Pikmin players. Anything else from y'all before we call it?
No, I'm good, man. No. I just enjoyed this game a lot more than I thought, and I'm glad to have played it.
Yeah. One question that I want to pose to y'all though is, if you were designing this game, would you make it so post-game heavy, or would you move some of that content to before the credits roll?
That's a fantastic question. I think I would have made it way less post-game heavy. I think I would have locked maybe area 6 behind the post-game and have the first 5 areas be in the main game. Just because like once you get to area 6, like I was like, oh shit, this is actually the biggest area in the game, and the biggest cave in the game in that as well. I was like, man, that feels really post-gamey to me. But area 5 in particular felt like just an extension of the base game. So I feel like that could have been included in, but personally, I would have been like, Olimar Story is a post-game content. Trial of the Sage Leaf, area 6, that's the post-game content.
That's still a lot, but yeah. I think that maybe makes a little more sense. I think this is just the same thing as Odyssey, to be like a kid on their own could theoretically beat this game and say, Mom, I beat the game. You know what I mean? And I think that's the reasoning for it. Or maybe the reasoning is story-based because of Louis and Olimar rescue. You know what I mean? But it is a little weird how much there is.
Yeah, well, when I rolled credits, it felt super anticlimactic. And I was like, oh, it's over. And then I was happy to realize that it was far from over. But like the moment that credits rolled, I was like, okay. Well, that was quick.
And then the actual final ending or whatever feels pretty satisfying. It does feel like a real ending. And if you don't get there, that feels a little weird. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's gonna do it. If you've listened to this, then you've probably either played through Pikmin 4 or you don't care about spoilers. But yeah, definitely send us a note if you got any comments on that. And with that, we'll take another short break, and then we'll talk about the other games that we've been playing recently. I'll go first. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I was trying to gun Pikmin 4 for this episode and had the same experience that Jordan kind of explained, where like there is so much post-game content. You're like, I'm beating it. Nope. There's one more thing. Nope. One more thing. And that's a good thing. But so I've been playing a lot of Pikmin 4, playing some Splatoon. And then I've been playing a lot of my game because I've been polishing this demo for this convention. And I don't think I've played much else. I've probably played like a little bit of Smash and some other things, but I don't think I have a whole lot of new games to report. I imagine in the coming weeks I'll fire up some new stuff. Maybe Sea of Stars. Who knows?
Yeah, it's funny. I forgot. I did play your demo.
Oh,
I didn't finish it all the way through. I'll talk to you about it later. And then I also played Smash last night. I went to my friend's house after a concert, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come over and play Smash and drink whiskey?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great." So the three of us played Smash for like 3 hours last night.
Nice.
And I hadn't played Smash in a long time because I don't play online. So it's like I only play it when I get together with friends.
Right.
So that was really fun. But I've been mainly playing. I started the Pokemon trading card game because everyone else in the Discord had been playing it. And I was like, okay, I actually want to get in on this and collect the cards and make some decks to be able to play people. Because that's like the thing that I didn't really have growing up was playing this game while everyone else was like, I didn't know a lot of people who had it growing up. Everyone had the Pokemon game, but no one had the trading card game. So it'll be cool to play online and like play some trading card game with people. I really, really wish they would make a game like this now, even if it was a mobile game. But like, just I like the concept of the game of like you go to all these different gyms, you battle the people at that gym, and then you get the cards. It's just a really fun like framework for a game, and the fact that they haven't made one since this, or I guess technically they made a second one, but it didn't come out in the US. But is wild. It's been like 20 years. Why is there not another Pokemon trading card game on a Nintendo console? Like
an RPG type one, not just like the actual game too.
Is there even?
No, I don't think Pokemon it's on Switch, but
at all. That's crazy. Like what are we doing here? like there are so many mobile games make their way to the Switch. The fact that like the one that is made by the Pokemon company doesn't actually exist on the Nintendo console is, I don't know. It's just really frustrating because I probably would even play that if they had just like the trading card game straight up. But anyway, that'll lead me to my next point of, because there's like not a lot of like versus trading card games that are like mobile on Switch, which is a real lost opportunity in my mind. Like I used to play Hearthstone a lot. So there's a new game at Gamescom. They announced that Marvel Snap was coming to Steam. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay, this is like, finally I'll try it out. And it's super addicting. It is really cool. Like Hearthstone, I got really burnt out because it kind of has this like mentality that I got burnt out of Magic the Gathering, where if you collect the best cards and you have the best deck within the meta at the time, you can pretty much just win every game. And like, it becomes just like, how much money do you want to spend on this game? And that's like really frustrating because it just kind of takes that whole element of gameplay out, that it just makes it not fun anymore. So Marvel Snap is nice because it's like you have three things in the middle. You're never going to know what they're going to be. And then you can there's a decent amount of different cards, right? But like, it's just like, it's a much more loose platform and the decks are much smaller. So it just makes it like a lot more fun to play. And I've been really, really enjoying that and playing it way more than I thought I was going to. And then in the theme of that, of like, I don't know why I decided to start two notoriously addicting gameplay games in like the same like 2 week span. But once Vampire Survivors dropped on Switch, I was like immediately yes. Like $5 is such a low barrier of entry. And like I've seen gameplay of this game. It's like I know I will like this. And I'm afraid of how much I will like this. So I've been playing that a lot too. Probably, I mean, you got to wait 10 days for the Switch to tell you how much you've played, but it's probably close to the 20-hour mark at this point. And it's just like super fun. Like just, it's like you feel like a god at a certain point because you get so much power and you're just walking around an area just decimating everything around you, and it just feels really good. And there are times when you lose, but most of the time if you know which powers to get, you're just steamrolling everything around you. And I don't know, it's like really fun to play, and it's just the loop of addiction within its own every run is like really nice. But yeah, that's everything I've been playing.
Cina, have you been playing any other games recently?
After I 100% of Pikmin 4, I took a little bit of a break. I sank like 60 hours into Pikmin 4 within the span of a week, and then I realized I was spending too much time playing video games. So I kind of tried to cool it.
That's like almost 10 hours a day. Yeah.
I've on and off been making my way through Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Okay.
Which has been fun. I've been playing that with one of my friends. So whenever he comes over, we'll play it for a few hours and get a little further in the story. But we both were like really into the original RE4 when it came out on GameCube a long time ago, and we would play through it a bunch together back then. So it's been fun to like play through the remake together. And then I also started Final Fantasy IV for I think the very first time. I don't think I've ever. I might have started it when I was like a kid, but I was playing it on an emulator back then, and it's either Final Fantasy IV or Final Fantasy V. I had made a save state right before an enemy like KO'd my party, and then that was the only save that I had. I didn't make a battery save, so like my save was ruined essentially, and then so I stopped playing it back then. I don't remember which game it was. I think it was 4. Although I don't really remember any of the game that I've played thus far. I'm still very early in the game. But yeah, I need to pick that back up.
That's got a soft spot. I've got a soft spot for that one.
Is 4 the one that was included with Chrono Trigger on the Final Fantasy Chronicles on PlayStation 1?
I think that was
5.
Oh, with Chrono Trigger. No, I was thinking of the other collection.
Because that's one I had growing up, and I actually played that Final Fantasy, and that one was sick. It's like because you start and then you become like a Dark Knight of some sort, like near the beginning. Anyway, whatever.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Cina. Thank you so much for coming back on and talking with us about Pikmin 4.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy my time on the show.
Yeah,
thanks for coming through.
And thanks to milkyway.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Yeah, you can find me online. It's mostly on the Discord at Boardan. You can also find me on Instagram. I post some like film photography. But Cina, where can we find you?
I'm generally 1000 Hertz, so 1000 HC on the internet. Find me in the Discord as Cina, just my name.
Yeah, well, that's going to do it for this episode on Pikmin 4 spoilers. Thanks, everybody. I am not David. I do not do a great outro, but I'm going to do my best here and say, keep yourself safe. What does David say? He says, like,
wash your hands, wash your butts.
Be kind
to yourself.
Be kind to
others.
One another.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.